A while ago I made a video which a couple of people saw, claiming that Doom 2016 was a sequel to the classic Doom series, despite promotional material having labelled it as a reboot. Opinions were ever so slightly split, but hey, it was just a theory. Fast forward a few years and the hype is building for a brand new Doom game. I make a few more wild, harebrained speculation videos, and before we know it, the day finally arrives. Doom Eternal is unleashed upon the world, and how about that? Doom really is a sequel. Gods had begun. Humanity had all players deep and challenging, different is less likely to get me horribly So I'm not claiming to be right across the board, far from it in fact. The whole idea that the Doom guy merged with the spirit of the betrayer to become some sort of demigod, while making sense at the time, seems kind of outrageous now. Even so, the player character of Doom 2016 and Eternal is absolutely positively confirmed to be the classic Doom guy from Doom 1, 2 and even 64. Yes, after many years of fan speculation as to whether Doom 64 is canon or not, we can finally pretty much confirm that it's not just canon, but the real Doom 3. How can he be so sure about this, I hear you asking? Well, not only was the Doom 64 remaster specifically released as a pre-order bonus for Eternal, like many new games give you the previous entry in a series as a bonus, but Eternal features the Unmaker, a special weapon only ever seen in Doom 64, effectively joining the games at the hip. Well, where does this leave the original Doom 3 then? I hear you continuing to ask, dragging this video ever more off topic. Well, maybe it's a divergent timeline, maybe it's even a prequel of some kind, who really knows. At this juncture though, it seems like most people are simply ignoring it. Still, you can probably rely on me to make an insane theory video about it at some point. So where does that leave us with Doom Eternal then? Well, with the in-game revelations, extensive codex entries, and just the slightest amount of speculation, with a fairly consistent timeline actually, albeit a much lengthier and complex one than we ever could have anticipated, for the story begins countless ages ago when a mysterious and seemingly nigh omnipotent being, known as the Father, spawned a race of heavenly beings that would come to be known as the Makers. Some myths tell that the Father split himself into fragments, which would coalesce as the Makers, but others say he poured his essence into the Maker world of Urdak, from which his angels would be born. However, their true origin has been lost to time. For untold stretches of time, it would seem that Urdak existed peacefully, the Makers living out transcendental lives under the reign of the destiny-bound Khan Maker, possessing a technological prowess unheard of anywhere else in the galaxy. Under the watchful eye of the Father, the Makers enjoyed a perpetual existence, offering themselves to death when their body and mind began to grow frail, only to be reborn anew. While it's unknown exactly how Maker history played out, it is apparent that their influence was spread far and wide among the stars, their benevolent actions and unfathomable technology making them gods in the eyes of many races, including humanity. One of these races were the Argenta, however, a people who already hailed to their own primordial deities. It is said that in times before the birth of the Argenta, the world of Argent D'Nur was impaled by a cosmic spear, a great body of stone and metal that run through the planet, releasing beings known to the Argenta as wraiths. Legends of Argent D'Nur claim the call of the wraiths gave rise to all life on the planet, and later their power was shared with the fledgling Argenta peoples. This caused them to advance quickly, becoming a noble warrior race, and going on to form the Night Sentinels to protect their gods, as well as Yorda Deeg to worship them. In time, the Argenta would meet the Makers, who offered them power, technology, and everlasting life in Urdak. This interaction led only to further advancement, catapulting the Argenta into a spacefaring empire that went on to conquer world after world. All seemed idyllic for the Makers and Argent D'Nur, but soon Cataclysm would be brought upon both their worlds. Presumably in a different reality, humanity had managed to open portals to a dark dimension, one from which foul creatures of nightmare spilled out, destroying everything they touched. They went on to spread to Earth, driving humanity to the edge of extinction. But in all these episodes of Doom, one Marine managed to prevail. He alone survived the initial attack on the UAC Phobos base, wiped the demon presence from Earth, and thwarted their attempts at resurrection before driving them back to Hell, remaining there to ensure they never attacked again. Somehow though, it would seem that the lone Marine, nicknamed Doom Guy, fell through a portal from Hell, emerging on the world of Argent D'Nur. Driven to madness by his experiences, the Marine was brought before the Yorda Deeg, who were impressed with his fortitude and sent him to the arena of Sentinel Prime to be tested like any other recruit. Apparently unaware of the demons that this stranger rambled on about, the priest sent him to join their fighting force, but not before the Khan Maker herself interrogated him on his experiences. It was not long before the first assault from Hell fell suddenly upon the Argenta city of Terras Nabad. The Knight Sentinels fought valiantly against this new foe, the mysterious newcomer more so than any of them, and yet legions fell to Hell's strength, with none able to defeat the mighty titan that besieged them. That was until a lone maker, Samur, acted outside of the Khan's will. He saw the Doomguy's potential, and as the battle raged outside, used the divinity machine to bestow upon him great strength and speed. Upon returning to the battle, he made quick work of the Titan, plunging his crucible into its heart. It is at this point the Doomslayer was born. Despite the victory, the war with Hell would only continue, becoming worse with every passing day. So too would the situation sour for the Makers, as for yet unknown reasons, the same Maker who had granted divine strength to the Doomslayer, later referred to as the Seraphim, would steal away the essence of the Father from Urdak. Without it, the Makers would lose the energy that made them strong, and they would be unable to undergo the process of rebirth. Slowly, their race would begin to die. Although living for upwards of 10,000 years, the Khan knew that unending oblivion loomed for her and her people. It is now that she was forced to conceive of a drastic plan. Without the Father's influence, the Makers would need an alternate energy source in order to survive. To obtain this, the Khan Maker would have to look to the lower reality, inverse in space and time to that of the heavenly realm of Urdak. She would turn to the chaotic and tormented reality the stranger had spoken of to her, the dark realm of Hell. Here it had been found, the vile creatures would slowly feed on the ethereal essence of captured mortals, as they themselves became demonkind, an essence that was the soul. Upon the battlefield, the Argenta had found this, believing it to be an exploitable weakness, but soon they chose to utilize the enemy's own strength against them. Formulated by the Order D, the Hell Essence was used to power great weapons of war and enhance fighting prowess. Suspicious of the new substance though, the Knight Sentinels refused to partake of it, choosing to fight as they always had, with honour. But it would transpire that not even the desperate Makers were that honourable. Seeing the potential of this energy, and how the demons wasted it so, the Khan Maker would presumably do something unthinkable. It may be that she made a pact with the Dark Lord of Hell, so that the Makers may extract the considerable excess Hell Essence for themselves, and in return they would offer up worlds for Hell to consume. Unknown to the Knight Sentinels, the Order D had been corrupted by this Hell Essence, and had joined the Khan in her diabolical plans. Between them, the Hell Priests and the Khan Maker would devise a method of extracting and purifying souls into a usable energy form. A great soul extractor would be constructed from Maker technology within the Hell City of Necrovol. In this city of the damned, mortals would be tortured until their spirits were broken. The Maker-designed extractor would then remove their soul, processing it into pure Argent energy. The product would then be transported directly to Urdak in order to sustain the Maker people, each one of their lives costing thousands of innocent mortals. Inevitably, the Knight Sentinels uncovered the plan, reporting the injustice back to Danir, but the common folk, enamoured with the Argent Elixir, could not believe their gods would do such a thing, and on an already war-torn world, a civil war broke out. Desperate to end the Maker ploy, a legion of Sentinels, including the Slayer, would travel to Hell to destroy the extractors, but they were betrayed. At last revealing their true allegiance, the priests shattered the Sentinel ranks, materializing portals all over Hell and leaving the soldiers who emerged to die. At the same time, one of the Sentinels themselves, coerced by the priest D-Grav to save his son's everlasting soul, revealed the location of the original gods of Argent Danir, the Wraiths. With their power, the strength of Hell would only grow exponentially, and for this action, the soldier was forever shunned and labelled the Betrayer. As was Hell's way, the betrayer himself would be betrayed, and although his son's soul would not meet the torment of Argent processing, it would meet a potentially far worse fate, for he would become the icon of sin. The Sentinel force sent into Hell would be quickly defeated, except of course for the Slayer. He was again stranded, but this time with the power of a demigod. The rampage that would ensue would last an age, and be of biblical proportions. The Dark Lords of Hell would write scripture about this force of nature. Titans would fall at his feet, and all demons would come to fear the Doomslayer. So unstoppable was he, that the forces of Hell accepted that they could not kill him, and opted to instead imprison him, hoping he would never rise again. But in time he would return to witness what had become of Argent Danir, how vast swathes of it had been consumed by Hell, and the rest of it left to rot. he would see humanity's mistakes repeat themselves, and eventually witness the Earth again engulfed in demonic flame. But once more, the Doomslayer would crusade, as he had long ago, to save his people, killing the priests who had turned against him, and putting an end to the Maker's plans. So too would he also defeat the Icon of Sin once more, finally putting the soul of the Betrayer's son to rest. The Earth may have ultimately been saved, but the actions of the Slayer may very well cause a celestial imbalance that would lead to something far worse than what has ever come before. So it turns out Doom 2016 and Eternal really are sequels to the classic Doom series, even though the events in those games are somewhat lost in the overarching storyline. I mean, this video is already way too long, and I've only really scratched the surface of what the lore has to offer. It's probably safe to say then that there'll be more videos theorizing and breaking down major plot points. For now though, thank you for watching, please subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw, and consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. I can't say how much that would help me out right now. Make sure to rip and tear until it's done, and I will see you next time.